for the playlist. We're going to start our broadcast by talking about Hamas agreeing to release the 10 hostages in response to a ceasefire plan. Now, the reason why this is significant is because in some ways it resembles the exact same ceasefire proposal that was pushed around over and over again that Israel kept saying no to, but Hamas has once again said yes to it. I assume Israel will still find a way to ruin this, but here it is. Hopefully there will be an end to the death and the destruction and a little bit of real humanitarian aid going in. A little bit of real humanitarian aid going in to the Strip. But let's see.
Early this morning at one of the controversial new aid sites in Gaza's far south. Video provided by the US Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which all week has been pushing back against reports of chaos. Today, it may have been short of that, but it was hardly ordered. It does, though, speak to the continuing desperation of Gaza's people. Just look at the joy of this woman. No matter the long walk ahead, back out of an Israeli military zone.
The catastrophic situation in Gaza, it is the worst since the war began. Humanitarian needs have exploded in Gaza following the 80 days of the nearly total blockade of aid going into the Gaza Strip.
What so many in Gaza desperately want, of course, is an end to the war, even a pause in it. And today Hamas has at last given its response to this week's US ceasefire proposal, agreeing to some of its elements, a 60-day truce, the release of 10 living and 18 dead Israeli hostages, but less clear on the issue that had stymied previous ceasefire plans, whether and when the war would be permanently ended. In its statement, Hamas said this proposal aims to achieve a permanent ceasefire, a comprehensive withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, and ensure the flow of aid to our people and our families in the Gaza Strip. Last night, President Trump was bullish that Hamas would accept.
They want to get out of that mess. They're in a big mess. I think they want to get out of it.
There are reports in Israel that Hamas wants to revise the timeline for the release of the hostages. The Reuters news agency says a Hamas official said they were responding positively to the US proposal, but were seeking some amendments. In the past, Israel has treated such counteroffers as rejections, similar language being used tonight in a briefing to Israeli reporters. Meanwhile, the desperation in Gaza compounds. 77 aid trucks belonging to the World Food Programme blocked and looted before they could get to their destinations. WFP workers appealing from their car for people to take just one sack of flour each.
Harry Fawcett there. Well, I'm joined now by the British.
I have seen the Freedom Flotilla stuff. Now, obviously, I'm gonna dive into the details of this, the nitty gritty of this, because there's obviously some interesting stuff coming out of this proposal and the back and forth. As you guys know, the initial situation with this was that the Hamas envoys, directly speaking to Steve Witkoff, had given a very reasonable proposal back to the American side, which was supposed to be presented to the Israeli side. It was going to be all for all, full hostage release, 90-day ceasefire, but they whittled it down to 60 days. With conditions on moving into the next round of negotiations, as the last round of ceasefire talks was taking place. If you remember, the last time Israel actually conceded and engaged in a real ceasefire. Now, that is not a real thing. Israel's counterproposal to that was basically a 7-day ceasefire, and that's basically it. And since I started the broadcast, Witkoff has already actually said no to the Hamas ceasefire proposal, saying that their response is unacceptable. Why is it unacceptable? Because clearly Israel does not want it, okay? I'm going to get into it in a second. Hold on. I know the Drop Site News additional reporting has come out, but I want to walk through it piece by piece. One of the most significant aspects of the Hamas proposal is that Hamas, alongside all of the regional actors, all the Gulf nation states, have come out and said, we want to dissolve Hamas. We no longer want to run the Gaza Strip. Now, this is part of what Israel wanted to do, right? Israel wants to eradicate Hamas. Israel keeps saying Hamas can no longer run the Gaza Strip. And Hamas is like, okay, we will do that. And we will do that as long as there can be a technocratic Palestinian committee that runs the Gaza Strip in unison with the West Bank as well. And it's a technocratic Palestinian council comprised of like people from different backgrounds and some that were formerly a part of Hamas on the civil governance side. And the issue here is that solution makes too much sense, and Israel just says, no, we want Hamas to run the Gaza Strip. And it's really fucking weird. Okay, this is not the same thing as dissolving Hamas. Don't repeat that talking point. No, it is effectively dissolving the Hamas grip of power on the Gaza Strip. So it is not a talking point. It is the truth. Obviously, if you're the fucking Minister of Agriculture, whether you're Hamas or not doesn't matter. You're still going to be the Minister of Agriculture within that technocratic Palestinian National Committee or Palestinian National Council. But if you are a part of like the militancy or whatever, it's factually not true. Is PIJ dissolved because they're not government? No. What they're trying to do is basically turn around and recreate a. Why are you arguing with me on this? On the militancy side, they're not disarming, okay? The Al-Qassam brigades will remain, okay, until there is a standing military and full-blown sovereignty for Palestinians, same as Palestinian Islamic Jihad's militancy, okay, and numerous other factions. Hamas can't even control, because you're repeating it and it's just not true. They are willing to abdicate government, not dissolving as a resistance org. I never said that. You're the one who's saying that. I'm literally saying the civil governance side of Hamas will dissolve as it is, and then there will be a technocratic Palestinian National Committee that can be comprised of former Hamas politicians that were only involved in civil governance affairs. It does nothing to the militancy side, because understandably, as there's a genocide going on, why the fuck would people put their weapons down until there is a permanent ceasefire and a new military structure that is recognized by international authorities? Obviously, no one's going to go, hey, I know you guys are genociding us right now, but we're going to put our weapons down. That's not going to happen. Okay? So, basically, this morning early, Jeremy Scahill reported, Hamas says it responded to the Witkoff proposal with its own suggested changes. This proposal aims to achieve a permanent ceasefire, comprehensive withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, and ensure the flow of aid to our people, Hamas said in a statement. As a part of this agreement, 10 living Israeli prisoners held by the resistance will be released, and 18 bodies will be returned in exchange for an agreed-upon number of Palestinian prisoners. Now remember, all of the remaining hostages are not actually technically hostages. They were enemy combatants, and therefore they're prisoners of war. So that's another thing that you have to recognize. Whereas the overwhelming majority of the Palestinian militants, or not Palestinian militants, sorry, the Palestinians under military detention are actually not enemy combatants at all. They're just random fucking teenagers and shit that have been basically kidnapped from the street in the West Bank, where Israel is an illegal occupant. So that is part of the goal here, is to try and release as many Palestinians that are held in captivity by the Israeli state as possible. There's more than 10,000 of them. And that is part of this design. That's part of the ceasefire negotiations. But one of the most significant aspects of this, as I said, was a deal that Hamas reached last week with Witkoff. They agreed to hand over governors of Gaza to an independent Palestinian technocratic committee. In order to get Israel on board, the new agreement struck with Israel would leave Hamas in control, according to the draft agreement obtained by Jeremy Scahill. If you consider yourself a person who can think independently, I want you to think about what that means. Specifically, why is Hamas willing to give up control in order to get a peace deal, yet Israel insists on keeping Hamas in control? Why would that be? The reason why I'm saying this is because all of the other regional actors, like all the Gulf states, are also on board with the national committee structure. Virtually everyone is willing to recreate a full-blown civil governance that is no longer associated with the political faction of Hamas. Okay, even if they are former Hamas members, obviously the education minister is going to be a part of the Hamas party, and he is no longer going to be affiliated with Hamas, but still be a part of the education ministry. Like, that makes sense if they haven't been assassinated already, right? So the reason why I point to this is because Israel's ambitions here is to maintain Hamas as a control structure in the Gaza Strip, because they want to use, like they did with the hostages, they want to use Hamas as a reason to continue the ethnic cleansing campaign. And obviously, on the civil governance side, they understand this. They understand that that is the reality, which is why they are saying, okay, we will no longer have political control over the Gaza Strip. We will allow the Gaza Strip to be run by a technocratic Palestinian committee. Okay? Interesting that all the regional players on Hamas included want to dissolve Hamas, but Israel wants to keep Hamas in power to continue its ethnic cleansing of Gaza while framing it as exterminating Hamas. That is the goal for Israel here. And the reason why I'm specifying this, the reason why I'm mentioning this, is because it's important to understand their ambitions here, so you understand when they are actually lying, okay? Everything that Israel says obviously is a lie, but this one is a particularly egregious lie, considering that their overall ambition, their number one goal is the permanent eradication of Hamas, right? That's what Israel keeps saying. But also simultaneously, there are internal voices within the Israeli military structure that say there is no functional way of eradicating Hamas. It's a political problem. Hamas is offering a political solution to this political problem, and then Israel keeps saying, no, we have to militarily defeat Hamas. The reason why they're saying that, while simultaneously Haaretz reporting has showed that they have actually only seized 2,700 small arms. Okay, think about this. Hundreds of thousands dead. Only 2,000 small arms. What does that tell you? It tells you that their ambitions are not about, eradicating Hamas or fighting a militancy, but instead a complete ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian population. This is something that, what is a small arm? Small arms are weapons that people use. Okay? 2,700 small arms is like one fucking gun nut in America, obviously. But if they've only secured 2,700 small arms, let's say a lot of that is under the rubble. Let's say that they haven't extracted a big chunk of it. Let's say it's 5,000 small arms. That means they've only killed, 5,000 enemy combatants? I'm doubling the number here, okay? I'm doubling the number here so that this is more favorable to Israel. Out of the 60,000 that were officially confirmed killed by Israeli bullets or Israeli rockets, okay? Tens of thousands still under the rubble and haven't been found. It's obviously an undercount. Lancet estimates put it at far, far larger than this, right? Anyone else notice Hassan been acting more capitalist lately? Yeah, I love capitalism. Lock in, chatter. We're talking about some serious shit here. Yeah, they're just killing children. That's it. They're starving and killing women and children and civilian men and the elderly, and that's precisely what's going on. They're making Gaza deliberately uninhabitable in an effort to permanently displace all of the Palestinians living in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip. In any case, so Hamas says, yeah, we're on board. Here's our counter proposal. And we agree to it, right? Here's the full text of the Hamas statement. After conducting a round of national consultations and based on our immense sense of responsibility towards our people and their suffering, the Islamic resistance movement Hamas today submitted its response to the U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff's latest proposal to the mediating parties. This proposal aims to achieve a permanent ceasefire, comprehensive withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, and ensure the flow of aid to our people and our families in the